Whether you call it self-discipline, grit, determination, or willpower, the research shows that people who learn control are happier, healthier, and have stronger relationships. But how do you get there, Abby? Well, today I'm sharing a whole new way of understanding willpower and self-discipline, the secret to why you failed in your efforts before, and my top 5 research-backed tips to have you back in control of your life. So stay tuned. Welcome back. Hello, you are here. I'm so happy you're here. Today, a lot of people wrote in about this. Willpower, self-discipline, self-control, all the things. How do I do it? And so in my usual way, I did quite a bit of research into, really, how to get it, how to do it, what it's all about. And I'm going to go through it all today. I'm really going to give it to you. So definitely sit back and get ready. I will tell you too, in case you don't know, number one, if it's long on the podcast for you, if you do not like always listening to my melodic voice, you can listen at 1.5 speed if you want to, get it a little faster. But also, I had someone write in recently, again, actually someone else, about, wanting to go back and take notes and wondering if at the end I could kind of recap what I do. And I don't, because I already do it for you. That is how much I love you. I write up a whole blog post, like very, really good on my website. So if you ever want to go back and you don't want to listen to the whole, to the podcast for whatever reason, you can, or want to just take notes or copy and paste something or whatever, you can go to my website and there's, I think it says research and articles or something, and that's all the things that I write. On the podcast page, you can find the podcast itself and all that, and what we call show notes, which means that it's sort of like just a very brief little not even a synopsis really, but kind of a little brief recap. But the real meat and everything I talk about throughout the actual show is in the corresponding blog post. So the only thing that's different about that sometimes are the Ask Dr. Abby's, because I don't write up a whole thing for that. But these I do because I want you to have the notes. I want you to have, the links to the research and all the things. So, and I do have a lot of research with today. So those will all be linked, the little resource list for you. You can get that on where I post the blog, or you can get that on the show notes page. So just so you know, so I'm not going to every single time I say something, say where it's from, because that gets too much. All right. I'm having a sip of water, because my throat feels a little dry today. So let's dig in. So, okay. In its really sort of simplest form, self-discipline or willpower is your ability to delay gratification. I'm trying to think of the simplest way to say that. I would say that's it. It's our ability to resist a temptation now to get some goal we want later. So, not eating the brownie now because I want to lose 10 pounds, whatever, right? So that's really what that is. And for our purposes today, because there's so many words, again, like grit, determination, self-control, self-discipline, everything, I'm just going to use the word willpower. But it is synonymous with all those other terms I just mentioned. But willpower is just easier. It's kind of easier to say. So, but in your head, as I'm talking, insert whatever word you think works. And I always think of willpower because really when you're talking about self-discipline and self-control, that's what it's made up of. It's made up of your willpower. That's what's there. So that's kind of, I guess, what I really want you to think about when you hear those different words. That's, when we break it all down, it's about how much willpower you have. And that, equals how much self-discipline or self-control or perseverance and all the good things you can have. And I have a very special take on it that I talked about, I think in season 1 a little bit, but I haven't really gone into detail. So I'm really excited today to do it. It's something I teach when I'm out, doing presentations and things like that. So you're going to get it today. Look at that. You don't have to pay. So there's a great book called The Willpower Instinct by Kelly Mcgonigle, and a PhD. She's a great researcher, and I'll be referring to that book a lot as I speak today. But one of the things she mentions in her book is that willpower is basically an internal conflict. It's an emotional thing and a physical thing. So, and it's usually goes one of two ways. Sometimes it's because you want to do something that you shouldn't, like, eating the third brownie or going to have a cigarette or a drink or something. And other times it's because you should do something, but you don't want to. You want to do nothing. So, you should, get to the gym or finish that project for work but all you want to do is lay on the couch and maybe smoke that cigarette, have a drink, and eat those brownies, right? So that's really what it all boils down to, isn't it? That's what we want our self-control for, our discipline for. So, and I said in the beginning that it's really the secret to a self-discipline. All these things are really a secret to a happy life. And I want to talk about that for a minute because there is a ton. Did I say a ton? Did I say a lot? It's a ton of research backing up that claim I just made that, self-control is the key to a successful and happy life. And I just want to talk about two studies right now. I'm just going to share two of them. And these are probably two of the more famous ones. And what I love about them is they were studies that were done. They were focused on measuring self-control in kids. And then they watched those kids over decades and sort of saw what the outcome was when you have kids who have more self-control. And the first is a very now super famous experiment. It's called the Marshmallow Experiment. And it was started by a man named Walter Mischel. I hope I said that right. He's a PhD. It was somewhere in the 1960s. And in this study, he had a group of researchers, of course, and they offered 4-year-olds the choice of eating one marshmallow now or getting 2 marshmallows if they would wait 15 minutes. That's pretty much what they did. And they would kind of leave the room. They'd sit the marshmallow there and they'd say, hey, you can eat that if you want. But if you wait till I come back, I'm going to come back in a few minutes. They didn't sell them, I think 15, but they're 4. You can have 2 if you want to wait. That's what they did. Kind of simple, really. And again, brilliant. So they then, like I said, tracked these kids into adulthood. And what they found was that the kids who resisted temptation, and delayed gratification, the kids who ate who waited and got the 2 marshmallows, they ended up having happier lives overall in all the metrics that they looked at. They, had better physical and mental health. They were really outshining those marshmallow kids in school and the kind of jobs they got. They had more successful relationships, so they were married more often, had less separation or divorce, less problems. I mean, it's been amazing. Now, in another study, and I'm going to talk about this, researchers also tracked this was 1,000 kids from birth to 32 years old. And same thing, they were again looking at self-control as kids and what happened as adults. And what they found was they had those who had greater self-control in childhood, again, as adults, had better physical health. They made more money. They had less issues with drug and alcohol dependence. They had less criminal behavior. And here's what was really special about this study and why I'm talking about it. They even compared siblings, so kids in the same family. And they found that the, sibling pairs, right? These pairs of siblings, they found that when they had a sibling who had lower self-control than the other sibling, that those kids with poor self-control as kids had worse outcomes than the sibling who had better self-control, even though they came from the same family. So all those outcomes I just mentioned, being happier, having less drug and alcohol problems, all the things, were still highly correlated. So the reason I'm mentioning this one too, is because you might, get in your head oh, it's just genetic or something. And, that's why, or something, it's in my family. And certainly we learn things in our families, obviously, and certainly genetics are at play. But here's a great and this study has been replicated. Here's a great example of how that's not necessarily something that has to go together. And you do have free will, and you can make these choices. So, and even if you weren't as a kid, it doesn't mean you can't change it now. So let's get really clear. But I do want you to hear how important it is. All right. So the big thing that I want to kind of get, my next kind of subheading on all this is that what the vast majority of the studies show is that willpower, self-control, it's an exhaustible resource. It's an exhaustible resource. So again, vast majority of research shows this over and over. So basically, and here's where I'm going to take things in a different direction. So I really want you to listen closely. So you wake up in the morning with the most willpower, the most self-control you're going to have for the day, and then you deplete it over the course of the day. And, this is why by 4 p.m., sometimes you find yourself having that brownie or smoking or having that drink because you've depleted your willpower all day. Lots of people know what it's like to, eat well in the morning and in the afternoon. And then when nighttime comes, they have a hard time. That's because all day long, your willpower, you've been draining it and draining it and draining it. So the obvious question is, yeah, okay, Abby, now what eats up my willpower? What is that? Is that just every hour some goes? No. I shouldn't say. So in some ways, your regular daily life does eat up your willpower, but at a slower rate. Okay. So things like, the things you do, showering, if you always have breakfast, going to work, cleaning up after yourself, all these kinds of things just, are going to eat up at your willpower because you need to use your willpower to get in the shower and not lay in bed. And you need to, right. And to do these things. But you also use it more expensively, I would say, in other ways. Every time you don't look at your phone, even though you heard a notification. Every time you did hear the notification, did look at your phone, but then stopped, because you noticed you were down a rabbit hole or something, and you're like, oh my God, I got to get to work. Every time you tune out your coworkers' incessant talking while you're trying to finish that spreadsheet at work. Every time you need to control your temper or deal with your frustration or your morning commute, every time you deplete it, every time you resist the urge to scroll through social media, or every time you stop scrolling through social media, because again, you realize you have to stop doing something else. You use it every time you say no to something you want to eat, but don't want to eat it. You use it with every decision you make, every stressor you have, everything you need to deal with, every temptation you avoid. Yeah. That is what's eating up your willpower all day. So I want to take this idea into your real life. And this is where I sort of present it in a way that's different than how most people do. And what I learned from myself over the years is that this is the best way to think about it. And the success I've had with my clients and when I do talks and things, this is kind of the game changer of it. Okay. So get ready. So let's take it into your real life. So here you are, you wake up each day with your full tank of willpower fuel, right? Or what I'm going to just say for the sake of this conversation, I'm going to call it units, like willpower units, just so we can quantify it a little bit and you can understand what I'm saying. So you wake up with all the willpower units you're going to have for the day. And I'm going to assume you had a decent night's sleep. So we're going to start your day. I know you're laughing, right? You're like, I didn't have a decent night's sleep. I'm going to talk about sleep later, but let's just say it was at least okay. And I'm going to give you 100 willpower units, self-control units, whatever you want to say, to start your day. That's what you woke up with. This is arbitrary, of course, but I want to have you get the idea of what I'm talking about. Okay. So now you got to get yourself ready. Right? You got to make breakfast. Ha ha ha. If you eat breakfast, some of you are like, I don't eat breakfast. You got to maybe take care of the kids. You got to walk the dog, put away the dishes, whatever. And as I mentioned, when you're doing rote things that are kind of a habit, things that you're used to, it takes less of your willpower units. Habits take less of your willpower units because you just do them automatically. You don't have to make a decision to do it. You don't have to think about it. And I'm going to talk about that. Anyway. So your usual morning would maybe take up about 15 of those willpower units you've got for your day, right? So I get through my morning and, I would have 75 units left for the rest of the day. But now let's say your kid tells you they can't find their clean uniform. That happened to me this morning. McCartney could not, couldn't find her uniform for softball. So that suddenly changed, right? I had to run around looking for that, even though I remembered folding it and leaving it on her dresser last night. It was miraculously gone this morning. We don't know where it went. And so, the frustration of that, the annoyance, I did everything right. I got it all set up and I was still looking for the uniform the next day. I know you feel me, don't you, right now? Okay. Or maybe let's say that morning you forgot you were supposed to bring in snack for your kid's class, or your dog threw up on the rug, or you're trying to eat healthier and need to, finally make those steel cut oats you've had in your cabinet for 2 years because they were so healthy and you haven't made them. So today's the day. Or maybe you woke up late and you're rushing, or maybe you just routinely wake up and you're always rushing. If you add anything like this to your morning, any little, annoyance, whatever, guess what? You've just taken those 15 units to 25. And I think I'm being generous, just for the record, depending on how annoyed you were or how disgruntled or how tired or cranky or impatient. But I'm going to give you that. So now you're out the door in the morning and you got 75 units left for the day. I guess you would have had more than that if you had the 15. Sorry, I think I said 75 before. Okay, you got, my math. Oh, well, you're not here because I do good at math. So let's say you're out the door, and you got 75 units left, right? It's just the morning. And maybe you rush to drop off the kids or get the dog walked or you're running to work or back home to work after dropping off the kids or, doing all the 90 things you need to accomplish before the day ends, before your work day ends, or before you have to pick up the kids after school, or before whatever, your partner comes home later. If you have a good, relatively easy day without too many surprises and with everything running, super smoothly, you're going to use up about 50 of those willpower units, right? Come on, it's the day. You've got to decision make, you've got to think, you've got to do stuff, all the things, okay? You're going to use 50 easy. But again, and I think it's more, but I'm going to be gentle and loving. But if anything unwanted happened during your day, if one of your coworkers was out and you needed to pick up the slack, right? They were out sick, you need to pick up slack. You were trying to stay on your diet during the day, even if you were successful. The fact that you had to think about it and stay on it. Or the commute was really bad this morning, or, that back tooth is killing you and you've got to figure out when you're going to get to the friggin' dentist. Those willpower units you're using could easily inch up to 60 or even the whole 75 that you have left for the entire day, right? But again, I'm going to be kind and assume you had a fabulous, relatively easy day and that you're now driving home or picking up the kids or whatever from school, whatever you're doing after. And I'm going to assume it's about 5 o'clock and you have about 25 willpower units left in your tank. Okay. So you're like, oh, I got 25 units left. But now you get home and now it's time to make dinner, something healthy, of course. Got to clean up, get the kids' homework done, get the kids to and from their practices, lessons, games. If you don't have kids, I know you still have a bunch to do. Maybe you have the dog and you have to clean up their poop and you got to make sure you got to play with them a little bit. You got to call your mom because it's been a week since you've done it. You've got to take the garbage cans down to the curb. You got to remember to call the plumber about the leaking faucet. Yes. No, I'm not in your house every day. We just all have the same life. This is life. So basically, though, those lovely 25 units you had for the whole rest of the night? Yeah, they're gone. Okay. They got eaten up super quickly. And I'm going to say by 7, and I'm being generous because I bet it's even by 5, you got no willpower units left in the tank. They're gone. I'm on fumes, Abby. I'm done. And this is usually the time you're snapping at your partner, you're eating, yelling at your kids, eating something you shouldn't, having a drink, maybe 2, maybe 3, sneaking a cigarette, maybe 2, maybe 3, or just trying, to make it to bed so you can relax. And, you're laying on the couch by 8 p.m. with some chips and a glass of wine, playing games on your phone while binge watching some show and beating yourself up for not getting to the gym yet again, or not, finishing some chore that's been on your to-do list since the beginning of time, right? You've got, here's the secret. You've got hours left in your day when you, quote unquote, should be preparing, healthy food for tomorrow, or even something fun. Maybe you wanted to go out with friends. Maybe you plan to go out with friends. You do that. Like on Monday, your friend calls and you're like, yeah, I'll go out Thursday night. That'll be great. I can't wait. And then Thursday comes. You're like, why the hell did I make plans with them? Oh, all I want to do is go home, right? You know what I'm talking about. So even if it's something fun, but all you want to do is sit on the couch and do nothing. That's all you want to do. And this is because you have been thinking about your day all wrong. You've been deciding, and here it is, drum roll. Here's the game changer, ladies and gentlemen, if hopefully you're still listening. You've been deciding what you can and can't do every day based on how many hours are in your day. You've been looking at your day. You're like, here's my list of things I have to do. Here's my hours in the day. And you've been putting those things together. And that's been your downfall, because if you do that, then you're looking at your day and you're like, oh yeah, and I get home from work at this time, and then I make breakfast, I make dinner and all that, or maybe we'll even order in, and then I'll be done by like 6:30, and then I don't go to bed till 10:30. I have plenty of time to go to the gym, or straighten out my closet, or go talk, go out with friends, or go for a walk, or you're thinking of all, right? I know, I see you, but you don't. Because you've been basing your day on hours. And what you need to do from this day forward, here we go. There's like before Christ and after death or whatever, this is before you heard Abby say this and after you heard Abby say this. For now on, for the rest of your life, I want you to think of your day in willpower units. Yeah. Your emotion, that's what fuels your emotional bandwidth. That's how much bandwidth you have to do crap, is how much willpower units are left in your tank. You can't motivate yourself to do anything because it would require willpower. It would require that emotional bandwidth, same thing. And you're running on fumes. You got nothing left. The car has stalled in the middle of the highway. It's 7 o'clock. You're stalled. There's nothing left. You've got time left in your day, but you don't have any mind left in your day. I'm going to say that again. You have time left in your day, but you should be thinking of how much mind you have left in your day. And that's the big mistake everybody makes. You're dividing your day into hours. So your boss says, hey, I've got a new project for you. Do you have time? And you're like, yeah, I have time, because you're thinking, it's only going to take an hour or whatever. And you're like, yeah. Or, your kid's school needs somebody to volunteer to run the, bake sale on Saturday. And you're like, yeah, I got time for that. I can do that. And that's why when those things then come up, so yeah, you have time in your day, let's say, to do this new project, I guess, if you broke it all down, but you're not thinking of how much bandwidth. Because when you do something new, if this is a new project, you have to learn it. It's maybe confusing. It's something you have to figure out. Maybe you have to work with new people, or maybe you have to work with just, people. You have to prioritize. You have to decision make. All of that eats up your willpower. All of that eats up these units, this self-control, this self-discipline. It all gets eaten up. So you have time for it, but you don't have mind for it. So you have to stop thinking of your day in terms of hours, because hours don't matter if you've got no more bandwidth left to deal with anything or anyone or whatever, right? Think about it. I know I'm having a pregnant pause here, so you can really understand what I'm saying. I'm going to have a sip of water while I have a pregnant pause. This is the game changer, my friends. This is also how you finally stop beating up on yourself for not getting stuff done that you quote unquote should. I hate that. The should. It's so soul sucking, and it's so mean girl to yourself or mean boy to yourself. It is beating yourself up for something that you truly kind of can't do in a way. Because again, your willpower is at the center of your emotional bandwidth. So without that, the time you have just doesn't matter. So you can stop beating up on yourself, when you're at home at the end of the day and you can't motivate yourself to get to the gym or to go out with friends or to clean up or to whatever, right? Or to be kind to your partner or to have sex or whatever it is. And so I want you to really tattoo it on your arm, post it in your home. Again, it's not how much time is left in your day, it's how much mind is left in your day. I want you to be thinking of that all the time. How am I doing? Obviously, mindfulness will help you tremendously. Actually, I'll get to that when we talk about tips. But all of this, of course, would beg the next question: can you get more willpower units? And yes, you can. Absolutely. You can wake up in the morning. So I do all the healthy things, right? Wonderful me. I do all the healthy things because I try to practice what I preach. So, I get up, I work out, I meditate, all the things I'm going to talk about. I eat well, all the things I'm going to talk about in the tips. I do them religiously, continually. And what that means is that when I wake up in the morning, I have more like 150 willpower units for the day. So guess what? When 7 o'clock rolls around, I got energy. I'm ready to do stuff. I'm ready to go out. I'm ready to have fun. I'm ready to have sex with Gary. I'm ready to whatever. I'm not saying every single day is like this, of course. But the vast majority, absolutely. The overwhelming majority, I don't feel drained at the end of my day. I don't feel like I just have to sit on the couch and chill. I like to sit on the couch and chill sometimes, but it's not something I feel like I have to do every night for my self-care at all. As a matter of fact, the opposite starts to happen. But let me give you this next secret. So you can get more willpower units, but there's two things you can do about it. Okay. So let's talk about that. One, so you can take things off your plate. So there's less you have to spend your willpower units on. Does that make sense? I know you can stop laughing now. You're like, take things off my plate, Abby. You're so funny. No, I'm serious. Okay. So you can take things off your plate. So for me, for example, when we bought a house and, we're doing all that, I was acutely aware that I did not want to commute, that I was willing to trade a smaller house for not having a commute. And I will tell you that, you can enjoy that nice big house out in the middle of nowhere, but that commute is going to be every day for the rest of your life, for a long time. So my daily life, it takes me 10 minutes to get to work. That's if I hit a couple lights. I mean, literally, this morning, dropped off the kids at school, got to work. That whole thing took 15 minutes. That's how quick it is. The other day, my son forgot his bag for baseball, and I was able to run home, grab it, drop it off at the school, and be back in my office in, I think it was definitely less than a half, because I did stop actually at the post office, now that I think about it, to drop off a package. And I was still back within a half hour. So taking things, that's an example of taking things off your plate. I took a commute off my plate because I knew that was going to be a big problem for me and that I wanted my life to feel a certain way. But you can take other things off your plate too. And you can think about, we did that with our kids. I've talked about this before, with our kids when they were little. I didn't have them in 20 activities. And yeah, my kids might not go to Harvard, but guess what? My kids are super happy. They're really healthy. They are well-liked, well-loved in the world. They like other people. They're kind humans. I feel like I've been very successful with my kids because I just couldn't make that the only priority. So they're doing their thing. And it's a choice. Again, it's a choice I made. And that's the thing. You always have a choice. You think to yourself, well, they have to eat organic food all the time, my kids, and they have to go to a great school, and I have to make all these things happen. You don't have to. No, you don't. The majority of what my kids eat is healthy. Not all of it. Not all of it. And I just don't stress about it. I spent more time when they were little making sure that we were offering healthy things. And that's what we did. And they both have a pretty good diet. And that's all we can do, and I don't know what to say. There's a way that we just get in our heads. We get on sort of the treadmill of life and decide that we must have certain things, right? And you don't necessarily have to. That's a way of taking things off your plate. I drive an older car. I've taken a car payment off my plate. There's like trade-offs you can make because I'm much happier that way. It feels good, not to think about that. So it's whatever it is for you, but there are things to take off your plate. And I want you to seriously think about how your life looks and how much is there and what you have to do and what you don't. Okay. And the other thing you can do, so taking things off your plate, the other thing you can do is add healthy habits that build your willpower. So you, again, wake up with more willpower units to use for that day. Okay? Because when you start your day with more willpower units, you're increasing your motivation, your energy levels, your emotional bandwidth for that day, all the things. I am going to get to the other secret I have in a minute. Let me just do it now. So I want to give you a little warning about all this. So before I tell you what these 5 great ways are to have more willpower units and to just revamp your life, I need to give you a warning. So as I just said, okay, so creating these specific healthy habits will definitely increase your willpower. But, and again, this is the big secret no one tells you, when you're starting a new behavior, so before it becomes a habit, right? It's not a habit to go to the gym if you're just up for a week starting early to go to the gym. It's not a habit at that point. It's a new behavior. And whenever you start a new behavior, especially a kind of a healthy one, obviously starting a new behavior of video games all day is not going to be a problem, or eating Oreos all day is not going to be a problem. But starting something that has a little resistance to it, it will initially deplete your willpower. I want you to think about that. It's only, again, when it becomes an automatic habit that you get the benefit of the added willpower. You get the benefit of that healthy habit. So in the beginning, you're going to have, instead of that 100 willpower units you woke up with, it's going to get eaten up really quickly, right? So I'm trying to think of a good example. So, okay. So I'm going to talk about eating healthfully when we get to the tips. But so eating healthy will absolutely add willpower units. But as you already know, it's hard to change how you eat and resist, all the temptations or, falling into old patterns and eating late at night or whatever. So you're using up more willpower to change how you eat initially. Once it becomes a habit, then you get all the benefits. Then all the good things happen. Now, and we know from the research that it takes an average of 66 days to create a new habit. So I tell people to give new behaviors about 3 months, because you don't know what your average is. 66 days, I say 3 months, before you start counting on feeling really better and or more energized. So I have people like, oh, I've been meditating for a week and I don't feel better. I'm like, number one, get over yourself. Come on. First of all, you might. I felt better right away with meditation, but you might not, or you might not notice it, but you got to give it a little bit of time. So about 3 months, give it a little room. So there are a couple things I want you to keep in mind when it comes to this warning of how, new behaviors will drain your willpower initially, even if they're good ones. So number one, only start one new thing at a time. Once you get that down, then you can add another thing after that 3-month window. And I've mentioned this before, but I'll mention it now. So when I tried to work out in the morning for years and years, I spent hundreds and hundreds of dollars joining gyms. You know how you always have to register and join and you have to pay extra, and you pay your monthly fee. And I'd get there twice a month and think, oh my God, this workout is costing me, $200 because I'm, I wasn't paying $400 a month for the gym, but you get the idea. This is a very expensive workout I'm having, or the once a month or the 2 times a year. That was $400, so you got to keep that in mind. Okay. So what I did, I was trying to think how to say this. Okay. So what I did, because I couldn't seem to get to the gym, was I finally realized that every time I was trying, you know what? I have to turn off my heater. Give me 1 second. Okay, I'm turning off my heater. I was so hot that I got distracted. Sorry, now I'm all here. So I was finding that every time I was melting. Every time I was trying to go to the gym and do this, I was also trying to change my food. And so what I did when I finally made working out a real habit is I did start with a trainer initially, and I told the trainer, I'm like, you're not going to touch my food. I'm not touching my food. And I did what I'm actually suggesting here, and I've now done this with thousands of clients now, and it works. I just changed the one thing. I know it's very tempting because you're looking to lose weight, and I'm not going to lose weight if I don't change my food, whatever. Pick one. If you're really that focused on losing weight, then pick your food first, because that's how you lose weight. Pick your food first. Then get to the working out later. And I have one client always says to me, but when I work out is the only time I can control my food, that because then I'm motivated. But she keeps gaining weight. So I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. You have to choose one. You keep choosing both, and it doesn't work long term. It works short term. It doesn't work long term. You have to be in it for the long haul. And so again, if, losing weight is the most important, we all know it's your food. You can work out, for a long time. And if you eat a bag of almonds, that might be all the calories you just burned. You know what I mean? You gotta address your food. So you could do that and then address the working out later, however you want to do it. I chose the working out first because I really was focusing on health, and at the time I actually didn't need to lose weight. I just wanted to get fit. So that worked for me. But do you see what I'm talking about? One thing at a time. Don't add them all. The second thing is to realize is that your plate is already full. And now you're trying to create new healthy habits that are going to drain that willpower for a short window. So for that same short window, again, that 3 months, got to think of 3 months, you got to take something off your plate, at least one thing, so you have emotional bandwidth to take on this new thing. I've said this, I just said this the whole podcast, but now I'm saying it a little differently because I'm really getting nitty gritty with you. I'm really getting granular. And I have people, they come in for couples therapy. They're like, oh, we're going to do couples therapy now. And I'm like, what are you taking off your plate? You're already full. You're already to here. If you're watching me on YouTube, but otherwise I'm making a motion up to beyond my forehead, on top of my head. You are full with all the life. And now you're trying to add something. And again, people think of it like hours. Oh, we're going to add couples therapy. Yeah. But where's the emotional bandwidth for the work it's going to take? You can come to the sessions, but if you don't do the work otherwise, it's not going to help you. Just like going to a trainer once a week is not going to do much if you don't do anything in between. It doesn't work that way. I guess eventually you could get fit, but it's going to take a friggin' long time. And are you going to stick with it that long? Instead, you got to think about what you could take off your plate as you're taking on whatever it is that you want the self-discipline for, the self-control for. So that might mean getting a cleaning person for 3 months. That's my favorite part of this. You can think of it short term. You don't have to worry about forever. Just for 3 months, what kind of resource can you add to help take something off your plate? Or again, just take it off completely. So maybe get a cleaning person. If you already have a cleaning person, have them come maybe more than once a week, or have them also do your laundry if they don't, or hire someone to do the outside gardening, or you get where I'm going, right? Get a neighborhood kid to walk your dog. Say no to any new projects at work during this 3 months that you're trying to do this new thing. Don't try to start 10 new things. I get this a lot with clients when I'm, working with stuff with them, and then they're like, oh, I'm gonna do this and this and that. I'm like, stop. You can't. I get that you're kind of excited. We've been working together. You're feeling the love. You're feeling energy. But once you start loading on those other things, we're going to lose this bandwidth. We're going to lose the willpower, and everything is going to fall apart. And I'm telling the truth because you are sitting there right now going, oh my God, that's me, that's me, that's me. That has happened to me over and over. Yeah, I know. It's all of us. None of us are unicorns. This is what happens. Take a sip of water and we're going to get to it. All right. So let's get to the 5 ways to create more discipline, self-control, and willpower in your life. And again, backed by research, because that's how I do everything. So number 1, I know I hate this one, is regular exercise. I know. Again, backed by research, but I hated hearing it too, but the facts are the facts. Exercise has been shown to increase willpower because we really think it's because it helps build what we call your willpower muscle. But here's the key. You want to start small and build up slowly because you kind of want to trick yourself. You want to trick your brain into thinking nothing's going on. Nothing's happening. Nothing to see here. Move along, nothing to see here. That's what you're telling your brain. So this means you don't join a boot camp if you haven't exercised regularly, in 5 years. 20 years. Instead, I don't know, really do park your car farther away when you go somewhere, or take the stairs up to your office, or even take the stairs up one flight and then take the elevator for the rest of the trip. Volunteer to walk the dog after dinner, just a small hack you can think of. And then slowly build to more over time. That's really, I know you're impatient. I know you want to make it happen, but this is the best way. And exercise, of course, raises your levels of serotonin and other neurotransmitters, your endorphins and your enkephalins, which help with stress. And that obviously, increases your emotional bandwidth and your willpower. It's a beautiful thing with the exercise. But if you don't regularly, start small. Don't try to go 5 days a week. Don't try, just once a week. Start to whatever. Once a week after dinner, take a walk. If you can do more, great, But really, again, you're kind of tricking yourself into not realizing, because otherwise, your amygdala, all those alarm bells go off like, oh my God, we're doing something new. It's horrible. We're losing things, and you don't want that to happen. All right. Tip number 2 is sleep. Sleep. So what did I just say for an hour? Willpower is an exhaustible resource. What did I say? You wake up in the morning with the most you're going to have for the whole day. And if you had a crappy night's sleep, you're not starting with 100 willpower units. You're not. You're starting with less. And you already know this because you know that those mornings when you haven't slept well are not mornings you feel motivated for anything. You don't have the willpower for a healthy breakfast or to jump on the Peloton that's, piled with clothes in the corner of your bedroom. No, you're not. You don't have the patience for people. These are the mornings you find yourself yelling at your kids or snapping at your partner, right? You're cranky. Getting a good night's sleep is your absolute top number one priority. And I want you to think for now that your day starts when you set your alarm, not when you turn it off. I've said this before. And I have a whole episode I did on sleep hygiene, how to do it, how to get it, how to be a great sleeper. I did a whole thing on that, which of course I'll link to. So I'm not going to get really into that now, but I say this a lot. Your day starts the night before when you get your friggin' ass to bed at a reasonable time. Be a grown up. Get over yourself. No, it's my only time alone. It's my only time to hang out. This is where there's this catch. You're going to have to this is the fulcrum. This is the space where you have to turn the ship, because once you do start sleeping well, you will have more willpower and you will have more energy at night and you'll feel better. I know. You won't need to lay on the couch and for an hour or 2 or 3 or play games on your phone or veg out. You're not going to need to do it in the same way. I always, of course, need a little downtime. We all do. But I don't need it in the way that I hear my clients need it or other people I talk to. I just don't. And I know it's because I have worked so hard to up my willpower, to up this emotional bandwidth in my life to handle things. Okay? So you're in this catch-22 right now where you feel like that's my only time, but I'm telling you, start to get to bed and you will feel better. You are just caught right now in this really kind of vicious cycle. Get your butt to bed. You will have more energy the next day to do all the things, and you won't, again, find yourself, I'm repeating myself, I apologize, but I'm just trying to really get this into you. You won't find yourself needing this time. You're going to have more energy and it's going to feel better. So decide what time, right? You need to go to sleep. You need to get to bed. Decide what that is for you. I get up really early, so I get to bed pretty early. I'm not losing out. I feel great. My kind of, actually, when you think about it, my morning time getting up so early, that's when I work out and I do my meditation and I pray and I journal. I do all my things. I'm doing that instead of that nighttime stuff. Okay? Do you see the difference there? That is my veg time, my alone time. I'm up alone. No one's around. I have just my space for myself. but I'm filling my tank with amazing things to really have a great day and have a very positive momentum. I do a whole thing on positive momentum and how to create that in your day and how important it is in another episode, which I'll also link to. But do you see what I'm saying? It's sort of like I've traded off, and I've got to tell you, it's a better trade-off. It is. And again, don't just believe me. This is what I do with my clients. And it's a game changer. It changes your life. It changes how you feel every morning. It changes how you feel about things. It's incredible. And Mcgonigle, in that book I mentioned earlier, she talks about how getting sleep, which is really important, also makes a big difference in how your prefrontal cortex works. Remember, your prefrontal cortex is the part of your brain that's in charge of decision making, being rational, problem solving, all that good stuff. And she talks about how any kind of sleep deprivation, even just getting less than 6 hours a night, is like a chronic stress. And what it does is it impairs how your body and brain use energy. And the prefrontal cortex gets especially hit, really hard, and it loses control over the regions of the brain that create cravings and your stress response. That's what happens. So, can you see? Right? Can you see where I'm going here? I know it's bad. And again, I do a whole thing about how much sleep you need in the other episode, and you can listen to that. But there is a Daniel Kripke, which sounds funny because Kripke, anyway. Daniel Kripke, he's a really famous sleep researcher, one of the most famous. And he says you need at least between 6.5 and 7.5 hours a night. That's what his research shows. He shows that these sleepers who get that, and you might need more personally, but somewhere in there, his research shows they live the longest and they're the happiest and most productive. I know. I'll link to the research. It's like, you can't beat it, right? You can't beat it. So really important. I can't stress enough about sleep. And again, if you're really having trouble sleeping, you need to see your doctor. I am a woman of a certain age, and I will tell you that, any woman post-menopause, we can't sleep. We have trouble with sleep sometimes, and you need to take care of it. I took care of it. Like, you got to take care of it. So I do all the things I mentioned, and I've talked about before. Occasionally I take medication when I can't sleep. I don't use anything, obviously, that's addictive or anything because of my addiction background, but there's plenty of really healthy sleep aids so that aren't going to impact you in really bad ways if needed. But I do all the things so that I don't need a sleep aid most of the time, but occasionally, you're just up. And so it's like an army of women around the world who are up at 2 a.m. Anyway, so that's it. Okay, those are those. Number three. You got to improve your food. You got to improve your food. Studies, they show, again, I'm going to link to all the studies in the show notes, and in the blog. But when you eat crappy food, you are more inclined to make emotional choices than if you're eating healthy food. This means that you're going to make emotional choices. Guess what emotional choices are? I want it now. Immediate gratification. Delayed gratification sucks. No, thank you. I'm going to spend something in this moment. I need these jeans. They make my butt look this way. I have to have it. I don't care if they're $500. Yeah, that's what you're going to do. And you want to do the same here when I talk about food. Look what I said. I said, improve your food. I didn't say you have to eat really healthfully. You have to do it. Just improve it. You know how to improve it. It's not rocket science. Do it slowly, just like with the exercise. Again, nothing to see here, brain. Hey, brain, nothing to see. Move along. We're not changing anything. Build slowly so you can maintain that for the long haul. So I tell people, I have a lot of clients, hooked on coffee. Try to get rid of 1 cup of coffee a day. That's it. Think about how many cups you drink. Get rid of 1. Or swap one of them for a cup of green tea or a glass of water. Just 1. Just start there. If you love a big bowl of ice cream every night, try to eat 1 less scoop. Or try to eat it earlier in the evening instead of right before you go to bed. Even that would be healthier. I know, I see you. I know you eat it right before you go to bed. Again, tell your brain, don't worry. There's nothing to see here. Move along, right? Do it incrementally. But really think about how to improve your food. Don't go all in. Don't go to like, oh, now we're macrobiotic and vegetarian and we're never eating that again and I'm never having a cookie for as long as I live. Like, don't do it. It's not going to work. Just, you know it's not, because you've tried and it hasn't worked. Not long term. Work short term, not long term. I'd like you to do something long term. So just think of one thing you can change. If you need to eat a healthy breakfast, try to start eating breakfast. By the way, if you're really not hungry in the morning, often if you stop eating at night, if you stop eating like a couple hours before you go to bed, so if you go to bed at 10, if you stop eating by 7, you will find that you are hungry in the morning because it's been a really long time since you ate. But if you're really not, and you really think you should have breakfast, quote unquote, eat a piece of string cheese. Have one hard-boiled egg. If that makes you sick, eat something that's not a breakfast food. I love when I have leftover sushi. That's like probably my favorite thing to eat in the morning, which of course many people around the world, that is what they eat. So they're like, you stupid American, why aren't you doing that anyway? Yeah. So, look around the world for how other people eat breakfast. There's all kinds of ways you can eat breakfast. Here in America, we get into that very traditional, kind of meal, and that might repulse you. But spaghetti might not. Eat some spaghetti. I don't know. If you really love pasta, maybe one time a week, try a whole grain instead of, wheat. Try that, or whatever, unbleached flour, whatever. Just try something small. Be incremental. I know I'm an addict. I want it all now. I want to change everything. but it doesn't work that way. And I do want to give you, how about this? I'm going to give you a little bonus tip right here from the research for how to make food choices easier. Because I'm saying all this and you're like, oh, I can't do it, Abby. I just have to have all my coffee. I don't know, whatever. It has been shown in the research that self-affirmation can help you have more self-control. So, so I'm not talking about looking in the mirror and telling I'm wonderful, I'm great, so I won't go eat that brownie. That's not how it works. But what you want to do, what they show in the research is you want to use I don't versus I can't. That's the little hack. I know I'm giving you so much good stuff here today. Yes, can we take a moment, talk about the good stuff? Yes, it's the good stuff. When you say I can't, you got no control. And you end up with this kind of negative feedback loop in your brain that's reminding you that, you suck. You got no self-control, no self-discipline. It tells you that you're forcing yourself to do something, And again, that eats up the willpower and dashes our self-esteem all in one fell swoop. Isn't that lovely? So instead of I can't, say I don't, which puts you back in the driver's seat. So it's not, I can't have that cookie. It becomes, oh, I don't eat cookies in the middle of the day. Oh, I don't eat, or if you're trying to have 2 cookies instead of 10, you say, I don't eat 10 cookies. I eat 5. Have 8, have 9. If it's one less than what you were doing, that's great. You did it. So, here we go. I'm full of bonuses today. Here's one more. Another way of doing this, okay, just like of saying this, I like the I don't versus I can't, but another thing you can do that's so actionable is to say, I'm a person who, which would mean saying something to yourself like, I'm a person who thinks before they eat. I'm a person who likes to put nourishing things in my body. You do like it, even though you don't. I'm a person who moves whenever I can. How's that for instead of exercising at the gym every day? I'm a person who moves whenever I can, who takes opportunities to put in extra steps wherever I can. How's that? It's a very different way of, I shouldn't say, sorry. It's a little left turn, like a slight left. You're making a slight left instead of a full left turn. And it's very, very helpful. So just try it. You'll see. And again, you can come over to the blog post page with this title and about self-discipline, self-control. You can just put it in the search engine of my website and you can get all these tips all written up for you. Isn't that lovely? I know. It's because I love you. All right, number 4. So you can do it. That's number 4. So basically, I'm going to come back on some things I just said. So, I've been saying like this whole time that willpower is an exhaustible resource. Well, and again, the vast majority of research shows that to be true. But there's a couple studies, and one in particular that was done at Stanford in like 2010. It'll be on the it'll be on the show notes page and the link to the research, but that there is a study that suggests that believing your willpower is limited is actually a contributing factor to it being limited. And that kind of makes sense, just because when we limit ourselves and we have a confirmation bias. So they did a bunch of experiments, and they found that people who believe that willpower isn't a fixed thing that can be depleted, they had greater self-control, who thought it was, an exhaustible resource. So, and again, that confirmation bias we have in our heads, if I think something is true, I'm going to find evidence that it's true. So it is great if you can to add this piece, right? And here's how I do it. So if I've had a bad night's sleep, because I do sometimes, right? I get a bad night's sleep, or, I'm traveling and there's the time change and it's like, oh boy, I make it a practice, and I do this every time, to tell myself the night before that I'm not going to be tired the next day. That's just what I do. I say to myself, you're going to feel great tomorrow. Despite less sleep, you don't always need your usual amount to feel energized and happy. And guess what? It works. It works like a charm. And I be really mindful of other people saying things like, because they'll say something like, oh, you just got in. It was so late. I'm so sorry. You must be so tired. And I'm like, no, I'm good. That's what I say. I was like, I'm good. I said, no, I'm good. It's sleep. I'll get some more later. I feel really great right now. And I make that, sort of how I do it. So I do want you to know that it's an exhaustible resource. And I want you to tell yourself in those times when things are out of your control that you can absolutely have willpower in that moment. And you can tell yourself that now. You might be looking at this list as I'm going, I don't do any of those. My willpower is terrible. You don't have to believe that. You're like, oh, I'm going to start one tiny thing later today. I'm going to increase my willpower. And I just heard this from Abby, so I'm just going to start deciding I have more willpower. And that's going to help me until I really put into place all these pieces she's talking about. So I do want you to think of doing the same thing for yourself. Again, especially as you're kind of building that willpower muscle, let yourself know that even though you don't have all the healthy habits down yet, you can still resist urges and be self-disciplined, and you can still feel good. Okay? Let me say this here too. I'm going to get to number 5. I'm going to get to the end, I swear. But a great idea to stay motivated and keep your head in a positive direction, as far as I'm concerned, is to have things around you that help remind you. And I talk about this a lot. It's why I created some inspirational merchandise on my website. I'm going to plug it here. Yes, I am. I'm plugging it here, and I have no shame at all, because I know it's going to help you and you're going to feel great. Go check out while you're on the website anyway, getting all your notes, go onto the shop page. There's a ton of merchandise. And I really want you to think about how, if you're drinking your coffee in the morning or your green tea now, with a mug that feels inspirational, how great. Or that reminds you of the podcast, or, you're looking in the mirror and you see the t-shirt you're wearing that says self-meditated. I know, so cute. Or whatever, it's fine to have a tote bag, get your notebook, it's fine to have things around you that help you stay motivated. In that same way, put a sticky up on the mirror, do little things around that help you have visuals. I just know visuals help. That's why I created some visual products. Visuals help me. I have them friggin' everywhere. And so it's okay if you don't buy merch, but I want you to think about having some visuals around to help yourself stay on point. Okay. Number 5 is to learn to manage your stress better. Yeah. And Mcgonigle, again, talks about this a lot in her book. And, she talks about how being under high levels of stress, it really means that your body's energy is used up. Again, this energy, this willpower, this, bandwidth is getting used up in acting in this kind of knee-jerk way and making decisions based on short-term outcomes. That's what's going to happen. And that's what happens when you're really stressed. And again, your prefrontal cortex loses out in that battle for the energy when high stress is involved. It is not going to be thinking well. It is not going to be rational. It is not going to be long-term planning. When you're stressed and you're in that state, your emotions are going to generally win. And that's something you have to work on. Listening right now is working on it. If you listen to my podcast every week, it's working on it. I send out, speaking of visuals, I send out a little, I call it a newsletter, but I shouldn't. It's an inspirational little writing. Every week, I send it out on Wednesdays. You can get on, if you go to newsletter on the website, it's right there, click, you can put in your email and sign up. And you'll get a once a week email from me with a story, something meant to inspire you. And I get hundreds of emails every week from people responding, just saying, oh my God, this so hit. It's exactly what I need to hear, which by the way, I love, and I read them all. I know, crazy, but this is one of those things I do in the morning too. It's so much fun. Or at night, when you have veg time in front of Netflix, I'm reading these incredible emails from people saying how I've helped them, which I got to tell you, makes me feel really good. So, but you can get on the newsletter. You can get that every week, get yourself pointed in the right direction. That will help manage your stress. It'll remind you of the things you need to be focused on. There are, again, the research shows that the best ways to manage your stress and increase those willpower units are through mindfulness and meditation. Who would have thought? Who would have thought? I wonder if I've ever talked about that. Yes, I talk about it nonstop. I don't shut up about mindfulness and meditation. You can go to the website on the shop page where you're already shopping, and for free. Again, you're not on any sleazy list. I'm not sleazy, guys, with anything. I know, I give so much. Sometimes people think I have some ulterior motive. My ulterior motive is that you feel great and that you then go do great things in the world. And then we have world peace. That's my ulterior motive. So yeah, I got one. And yeah, I make money from what I do. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I'd rather I was making money from doing fabulous things in the world than someone who's doing horrible things in the world. They don't seem to feel bad about it. I have no shame in making money with what I do. And I don't do anything sleazy. I'm very transparent. I will tell you, so you can go to the shop page on the website and you can get a mindfulness starter kit. You can get a meditation starter kit for free. Yes, it'll put you on that weekly newsletter list. It will. And you can opt out at any moment if you don't like what I'm saying. Be my guest. It's that easy. I'm not, but I'm not trying to sell you anything. It's nothing like that. I really am trying to help. There are things to buy. Great. You want to go buy my book? Love it. It'll help you. I know it'll change your life. If you don't, though, and you feel in a different place, do this. Do this, please. Please. I also have, and of course, I'll link to them on the show notes page and on the blog post, on this episode. I have tons of stuff on mindfulness and self-awareness and how to do it and how to be consistent, all the things. So just go listen, if you do not have, my goal is always, because I love you, that you don't have to spend a penny if you don't want to. I don't want you to have to. If you don't want to, it's okay. You don't have to. If you want to, spend money and improve in other ways, great, go for it. If you just want to support me in other ways and want to buy things, go for it. That's all fine. But I'm here for you no matter what. My love for you is not conditional. And I think I've proven that over and over in season after season and episode after episode of this podcast. So, that's where I'm at. I love you. I want you to do these things. That's why I get so, a little crazy and evangelical and really come after you for starting these things, because I know it will help your life. I'm positive. I'm 100% positive. I just haven't had anybody where it didn't help their life. And I've worked with literally tens of thousands of people by this point. So do the things. Start small. Be incremental. Don't beat yourself up. This is where you start. Okay. That really is it for today. I adore you. Feel adored today. Really, feel adored today. That's a nice thing. Go through the day feeling how that feels to feel adored, because it's a wonderful feeling. Have an amazing week, and I'll talk to you real soon.